Okay, good morning, everybody. We're on 55A, Nun Hey Amud Aleph. A few lines from the top, 6 lines from the top, and we're in the middle of a number of anecdotes in which various people ask the rabbis theological questions about idolatry. Um, Shal Agrippas Sartsava as Rabban Gamliel. General Agrippas asked Rabban Gamliel, your Torah says God is a consuming fire. Um, he's translating as a jealous God. So really, I think a better translation is zealous in English. Like Pinchas was a kanai, right? Bekanoas kinasi b'socham. Agrippas understood this as God is jealous. He's jealous of the other gods. Klum iskani el b'chacham b'chacham v'gibar v'gibar v'ashir v'ashir. Like who's jealous? A wise person who's jealous of whom. One wise person is jealous of another wise person, like he feels like he has more wisdom, or a a rich person is jealous of another rich person, or a strong person jealous of another strong person. They have, they're in a competition of sorts. Um, so if God is jealous of other idols, doesn't that imply that those idols have power as well? Amar he answers him, let me give you a parable. Guy's married and he takes a second wife. If the second wife is like a higher status than the first wife, ein miskanaba. So the first wife isn't so upset, right? Because it's like, okay, I understand my husband wanted something on a different level. But but if he takes, a woman from a lower class, miskanaba, then the first wife is going to be jealous. Accordingly, if you want to understand why God is jealous, it's because we have the best God. We've got the only God really, and then you're taking a lesser thing, a piece of stone, a piece of wood, and taking it as your second wife, as it were. Then of course we're going to be jealous of God. Will be jealous of that. Um, so it's actually interesting because usually in these mishalim, it's God is the husband, and here God is the wife. So it's an unusual metaphor. Amalei Zunin Rabbi Akiva. The person named Zunin said to Rabbi Akiva, Libi v'libach yada diavos kochavim leisban shasha. Look, both of us know that idols have no power. But we see that people believe in these gods. They go in broken to the temple, and they come out healed. My tama. So like, how does this happen if the idol has no power? What's going on here? Amar lo, he said, Rabbi Akiva said to him, Ebshal Chamash, I'll give you a parable. There was an honest person in the city. He was honest, so people would lend him things or deposit things with him for safekeeping without any witnesses, without any proof. And he would always give it back because he was honest. Somebody comes and uses witnesses. Um, so, and then one time, this guy who liked to have witnesses, one time he forgot and he didn't bring witnesses. Amar lo ishto. So the guy's wife said, "Bo v'nich parenu. We can we can cheat him. We can deny that because everybody knows he usually has witnesses. Now he's going to come and demand this object without witnesses, and nobody will believe him, and they'll believe us." So he says to her, what, just because this guy was an idiot, he didn't bring witness, he felt he needed witnesses, and now he didn't have witnesses. So we should take the risk of our reputation, because there will be a court case, and people will start to doubt us. So it's not worth it. Afkach, so the same with God. Yisurin b'shagrinos and al hadam. So he had the question, like, people are sick and they go to the idolatrous temple and they're healed. How does that happen? So Yisurin b'shagrinos and al hadam. So if someone has troubles or suffering decreed on him, so when the Yisurim are sent to the person, Mashbino essential telcho el ploni. So the Yisurim are very severely restricted in their scope. They have to take a shvua, so to speak, an oath that they will not visit the Yisurim on this person until a certain date. Will be on plenty, and they will last only until another date. So it's predetermined. Ubashah plani in such a time, al yidei plani through so and so, through a physician, ve'al yidei some plani with this drug that's going to be curing it. So everything's preordained. Kevan shegia zman, let's say. So now all of a sudden it comes. So now the day comes. So this guy goes to the idolatrous temple to be cured. Amr Yisurin, so are like they're due to leave anyway, right? His suffering is due to end anyway. So because he went to the idol, we should not keep those dates. Dinhu shalonetze. Really, yes, let's not. He prayed to an idol, so let's not make it look like we're subject to the power of the idol. But then they say, you know what? We had an oath, like we have a schedule, because this guy mistakenly goes to an idol, and he might think that the idol has power. We should, not keep our schedule. We have to keep our schedule. So, in other words, people are they're deluding themselves. They see this coincidence that the Asurim left them when they visited the idol, but it's just coincidence. Finally, Rabbi Yochanan, what is when in the Tochacha talks about, or no, this is at the end of Devarim. Talks about being visited by bad and faithful sickness. Ryan b'shlichusan, they're harsh in when they get sent. V'nemanim l'shuasan, and they are also reliable to keep their timing.
So does this explain the perhaps all the snake charmers and the people go to these I don't know, people in Texas and wherever they go to Lourdes in France, and they with canes and wheelchairs, and they walk out healed. Is this sort of the Torah's answer to this, the Gemara's answer to all this?
This is the Gemara's answer to it here. Of course, there are other possible answers, like it's all nonsense in the first place, or there's a psychological effect of going to the healer, or you could come up with whatever. This is the Gemara's answer. It's like this was going to happen anyway. So the fact that you went to the healer doesn't affect the fact that it was going to happen anyway. Of course, it's not a very good answer, because statistically, if you study I mean, you could always say in every case that this was the case, but if you look at it statistically, it might not pan out, right? That it might indicate that maybe there is something to this, and of course, when you talk about healing, like spas or whatever, mineral water, like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. That's not a case of Avodah Zarah. So I'm not sure how to answer your question, but that's
I
what
don't
the
know. I
Gemara's
mean, I'm
answering
just
here.
thinking. I mean, there are these people that would speak in tongues, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
wave the wands, and then the people walk away throw away their canes. I
Yeah.
have
I
to
mean,
often wonder about that. But
yeah.
then you have people that are masseuses and chiropractors and the physicians, traditional and non-traditional, and they provide healing remedies, and people do get healed from this. I mean, whatever. There's a whole range of things.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. We have a temple, an idolatrous temple in town. When we need rain, the idol appears to its followers in a dream. Sacrifice a person to me, and I'll bring you rain. Right? Shachatula Gavra. So they do so. Vyase Mitra, and yeah, it rained. So how do you explain that? Like, doesn't it appear that the idol has power? Amalei, Hashta Ihavi Shachivna. If I, now I'm ready to die. Lo Amri Lechu Hamilsa. Diamarav. If I were dead already, I wouldn't have been able to answer your question. So I'm happy that I'm still here to answer your question. From Rav, when it talks about Avodah Zarah, it's like this is what God gave other people to worship. So God, in other words, he put he smoothed the path for people to worship the worship of Avodah Zarah. In order to get rid of them from the world, to drive them from the world. Um, so behind Reish Lakish. So in other words, like God's making it easy for them to trip up. Like we said before, it's like people will delude themselves into believing these things, and that's at their peril. Behind
So this
Reish
is
Lakish.
God's way of eliminating some of the idol worship. If a person says, listen, sacrifice an individual human being, then they sacrifice one, another one, so forth. I mean, is that God's way of eliminating call anshe
Well, it wouldn't be very efficient, I don't think.
all the rebels that I mean, I don't.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be a very efficient way because there's they clearly they don't kill enough of themselves to decrease their population. And often, if popular movies are any guide, often they would sacrifice people from enemy tribes or whatever. My
It reminds me of when the Torah talks about Molech, Al Tavir, the Molech, the
right.
worship, right? That sacrifice
Hmm.
their own kin.
Yeah, their own kids. That's true. Behind the Rish Lakish is what Rish Lakish says. My dechsivim lalesim hu yalis v'lanavim yitain chayin. If to people who are leitzim, who are cynical, he will act cynically, but to those who are humble, he will give favor. Ba'al litame poskilo. What this means is if a person is determined to become tame, to not literally tame, but to sin, then we give him the opportunity. God gives him the opportunity. Malatar Messiah, so and someone who wishes to purify himself, he's also given a way to do that. Next Mishnah. Now we're going to discuss Yain Nesach. So Lokhin Bas Be'uta Min Havei Kochavim. You can buy the contents of a wine press that's already been used from an idol worshiper. Afal Pishu Notel Biyado V'Nosin L'Tapuach. Even though the idol worshiper takes the grapes from um, he takes the grapes and puts them on there's apparently like a mound of grapes that you pile up to let them drain, right, the juice. It doesn't become wine or subject to the rules of yayin nesach until it drips into the cistern. Yard labar, but once it does that, masha babar aser, whatever is in the cistern you can't use. It's yain nesach v'ashar mutar, but stuff that hasn't yet collected in the cistern, it's still dripping from the top. That's still okay.
Is it enough that the non-Jew touches the grapes? And he's not squeezing them, though, right? He's just. I mean, I didn't think that just
Well,
you
it
go to
says here
this.
he's taking the grapes and moving them onto the mound and from where they drip into the thing. So you're saying like once they're in the cistern, he hasn't touched them.
No, but he
So,
puts them on top of the pile and then they drip. He
mhm.
hasn't done anything to the grapes. You go to the store and for instance, and they moved grapes around. We don't know that every person, a store worker in key food is a Jew, right? He's touching the grapes. I mean, if he's just simply touching the
Yeah,
grapes,
yeah, right.
putting
But the
them on
grapes
the
are not a
pile.
problem. The grapes are not a problem. It's only once they become wine that that is a problem, according to this Mishnah.
Well, how do they become wine? I mean, they have to be.
Or well, once they start to become wine, once they start to ferment. So what the Mishnah is saying is, until the juice has collected in the cistern and I guess started to ferment or whatever, or that's where it ferments, it's not subject to being yayin nesach. It's only once it's in the cistern that it is subject to yayin nesach.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All right.
Um, you can, we can we can work with the idol worshippers in crushing the grapes of a low bosrinima, but you can't harvest grapes with him. Um, so One second. So this is has not to do with yain nesach, but with things becoming tame, right? So um, a random Ovid Kochavim person, I guess, is considered can make something tame. Let's look at Rashi. Of a low botrim lefisha nosnim begas tamea v'gores tuma v'gores. Um,
You should note me, but we got Timea.
So before you crush them, they're not mekabel tuma because you need a hechsher tuma. But once you start crushing them and the juice from the grapes contacts the grapes, like it exits the grapes and contacts the grapes, then that's hechsher tuma, and then they become tame. Um,
Well, it
and,
says,
and you're not
Rashi said the
supposed to.
fish note him, but got Timea. So just putting them in the gut makes it into Timea. Is that what he's saying?
Um,
אבל לא בוצעים, לפי שנותנים בגת טמאה וגורם טומאה.
uh-huh.
So just putting them in the gut makes them tame?
Yes, and Rashi explains, "Shenesinas legas l'shem dricha," who you're putting in there for the purpose of stepping on them, of crushing them, udrichasan tetamem, and stepping on them makes them tame. So yeah, he's kind of eliding over the difficulty. It seems like that putting them in the like by putting them in the press, you're kind of assuming that they're now going to become tummy because he's going to squeeze them and they'll have a hechsher tuma.
But we don't know he's going to squeeze them or crush them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, come on, yes, you do. You know he's going to do that, so don't put it in the situation where it is likely that they're going to become tummy. Um,
But it says, Rashi says, I mean, the Gemara says right above it, Dorchim yemanachmi bagad. It seems like that is
right.
permissible.
So according to Rashi, that's regarding like you're being hired to like are you taking profit from yayin nesach, right? Because you're being paid. Um, because as long as it hasn't gone into the pit, into the cistern yet, it's okay to deal with it. However, you shouldn't do it together with the Oved Kochavim because he's going to make it tame, um, something like that.
But that's different than, wait a second. So if he says Dorchim yemanachmi bagad, that means it's permitted to step on the grapes with him in the press itself, right?
Hmm.
That's so it's, but yet avalo botzrimo, but you can't harvest them with him.
Uh-huh.
So it seems that you can, if you, as a collective action, if the Jew is doing it with the goy, it's okay, but you can't allow him to harvest. I don't, about harvesting, he's not crushing it. It would seem just the opposite.
You're preparing it for yeah, you're preparing it for. Well, it seems like according to Rashi, they're talking about two different issues. The first issue is you can be hired um, to crush grapes. Um,
The non-Jew can be hired.
no, the Jew can be hired by the non-Jew, um, but
Well, it says
it
Imma
sounds
Nachmi.
like
The two of
mhm.
them can do it together, right?
Well, um,
The two step in there together, and because right, there are multiple people step on the grapes and they can crush the grapes together. That's what it seems like.
yeah. So I think Rashi's understanding in the first case that you're being hired to do it by yourself. You're not doing it together with the Ovid Kohavim, so there's no issue of him making it tummy. And in the second case, the issue is um, you're working together with him. I mean, it's a little unlikely because the Mishnah doesn't explicitly make that distinction.
Well, there's a difference between crushing them and gathering them, right? Isn't that what the Gemara is
Right.
saying?
So if you're gathering them and putting them in his press, you know that he's going. You can assume that he's going to make them tame. So that's a problem. If they're already in the if they're in the press and he hires you to do it, like to crush it, then he's not then he's not involved directly. So there's no tuma involved. So it's not that's not a problem either.
Is that
But
what the
it's a little
Gemara is
difficult.
saying? Is
That's
that what the
that's
Gemara
how
is
I
saying?
understand Rashi. I think that's what Rashi is saying here.
When he says Dorchim ima oved kachavim bagat, doesn't that mean with him, the two of you that are standing together, the Jew and the non-Jew?
That's not how Rashi interprets it, right?
Below, I mean,
Im in this case means you're hired by.
that's where does Rashi say that? I didn't read all of Rashi. What does he say?
No, you know what? No, I missed a piece of Rashi. It's already it's all you can assume it's already Tame. He's already started the Yaved Kochavim. Maybe there's a caveat here that you should let him start. Once he's made it Tame already, it's too late. So there's no reason you can't take the job.
So then what?
So
So what's
then there's no problem with making a Tame because it's Tame already, and there's no problem with Yain Nesach because it's not in the cistern yet.
so it's tummy then what? So you can't use it though, right? If it's tummy.
Well, you can use it. I mean, there are people who were careful about not eating even chulin betuma, but you could use it technically from a perspective of tuma. Now, once it becomes yain nesach, it's different, but we're not talking about that stage yet.
So how can you use tummy product?
You
What
can
what
use tummy products. Why not?
you drink it?
You could, yes. Only truma you can't eat betuma, and there were people who were careful about eating chulin betuma, but it's not required.
We learned earlier there's a difference between the product being tame. So a while ago, I mean, maybe in Shavuot, there was a whole section. Tame, the product is tame versus the person being tame. I think that was Shavuot 2 and 2, whatever it was.
Yeah, but was it talking about
I,
kachim? Was it talking about truma?
yeah, I don't
Truma
remember
has
all.
different rules. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I know. I don't remember. So, but isn't is it permissible to eat tame products? Or do we
Yes,
not to?
absolutely.
So it doesn't matter. Products, you can eat that. You can eat the product.
Right. But you're not, but there is a rule that you shouldn't deliberately make chulin tame in Eretz Yisrael.
And if you
Doesn't
do,
mean you can't eat it, but you should be careful not to do it.
oh, you can eat it. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can eat it. Right. Okay, let's go on. Yisrael
Okay.
Shavuos to Betuma. If you're now you got your own wine and you're tame and you're processing your wine, lo darchim v'lo botzer nima, then somebody else cannot participate with him, neither to crush the wine, um, nor to nor to harvest the grapes. But you can carry the barrels to the wine press, and you can and carry the barrels away from the wine press after they're crushed. Um, Nachtom Shalasa Betuma. What about a baker who works while he's Tame? Lo Lashim Lo Archinimo. Don't participate with him. Don't knead the dough with him, or braid the loaves with him. Aval Malichinimo Pasal Palter. But once it's done already, you can be the delivery guy. Amar Yain Kevan Shehischel Himashech Osi Yain. Osi Yain Nesach. Once the wine starts flowing into the cistern, then it's already eligible to become Yain Nesach. So it's not, but we have our Mishnah. You can buy the wine from a wine press that's already been crushed from even though he is taking by hand the grapes and putting them on top of the pile, so they'll run into the cistern. So this seems to contradict that because in our Mishnah, he's touching the grapes and he's not making them tie. Sorry, he's not making them yain nesach. But in this brisa this member of Rav Huna, he's saying like once it starts dripping, it's already eligible to be yain nesach. It hasn't even made it to the cistern yet. Rav Huna answers, begas pekuka umlaya. We're talking about a wine press that is already completely full. So if the Ovid Kochavim like stopped up the drain, um, so um, so it can't flow out, and then it starts to gather at the bottom of the wine press. So then that becomes the cistern, as it were. That's what I'm talking about. Tashma, we have a proof. Our Mishnah again says it doesn't become yain nesach until it goes into the cistern. Um, so doesn't that like isn't that saying specifically it has to go into the cistern? Like, how does Rav Huna get out of that? So Rav he says the same thing. Hachanami b'gas pukam lei. I says, I already told you. I'm talking about where the cistern is full, and so you plugged up the wine press, and then the grape juice starts to collect in the bottom of the wine press. Then it becomes like the cistern. Tashma, we're still going to ask. You're
So now it's really wine then. It has become
or
wine.
it's starting to become wine. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's eligible. Yeah, it's called. I guess it's at the stage of wine production where it can become yain nesach. So we're not giving that. We're still persisting with our Mishnah. Yorad labor mashav asur v'hashar mutar. If it goes into the cistern, then what's in the cistern is forbidden, and what hasn't gone into the cistern yet is not forbidden. So again, it's like the cistern. So. So here the Gemara is saying, like, this statement wouldn't make any sense if the juice was not on its way to the cistern. So you can't say that he plugged it up, right? Then you wouldn't be able to say that once it flowed through, then it's yain nesach. It's like that doesn't make any sense because it's not going to flow through if you're going to make this a case of where he plugged up the drain. So Ravuna Lokasha. Okay, so our Mishnah was an original Mishnah, but then they changed the rules later. Tanya, where do I see that? First, they said there were these three rulings with a mnemonic Beis Dalad Dalad. Ein botrinim oven kocham bagas. Don't gather grapes. That's the Beis. Because you're not allowed to make something tame. Vein darchin im Yisrael she'osim perosa b'truma. This is the first dalid. You can't participate in the press of a Jew who's working b'tuma. Shas, you'll say it all over eyebrow because he's not allowed to do it, and so you're assisting him, so you can't do that. But the third dalid, you can participate with an idol worshiper because he doesn't have any. He's as we explained before, according to Rashi, it's already tame. He's not enjoined from making things tame. So you're not a Messiah of the from your perspective, it's already tame. There's nothing to be done, and it's fine to participate.
So that's not. It doesn't become yain nesach then, right? Because he's not involved in it. Just a Jew,
right? Because it's not in the cistern yet. It's not at that stage yet. So Rav Huna has no problem with this, right? Lomar, but then they changed it. Dabad, that the new ruling is as follows. You cannot participate with the Oven Kochavim in the wine press. Mishum Rav Huna, because of Rav Huna's concern. You cannot harvest with a Jew who's working Batuma. And certainly you can't, you can't press grapes with him because again you're participating with someone who's doing something wrong. But if it's an Ovid Kochavim, you can because you can because the idea of not making something tummy was revoked. So this is like Mishnah Achrona, and that's why that would indeed contradict Rav Huna. But Rav Huna is, this is what Rav Huna says, and indeed it contradicts the original rule.
So here it seems to suggest that you are allowed to make chulin tummy in
Yeah,
Eretz.
yeah, yeah. So they changed the rule exactly.
So we were learning before that you're not allowed to, but you shouldn't, but you're not
Right.
allowed, but
You're not allowed to, but if you did, it doesn't affect whether you can eat it.
well, here it
Now we're
says
saying, you know what,
you
we're
are allowed
abandoning the
to.
rule. Now we're saying you are allowed to. Yeah.
So what is the
That's the
rule?
Mishnah Brona. That's the latter ruling. Obviously, they changed the first ruling, so we go with the latter ruling, and it's not really a problem to make something tummy. And we will stop here for today. Have a good day, everybody.